1,000,000 cups. How about that, huh? That video never gets old. I didn't really set you up for a round of applause there, so let's have one. Thanks. Thanks. Welcome again to another installment of 1,000,000 Cups Bismarck Mandan. My name is Lake and Ani. I will be your host today, and we've got a couple of very important, not a couple, excuse me, an important topic to talk about today, and a couple of pretty powerhouse presenters that I am excited to introduce to all of you. Before we do that, though, let's get through some housekeeping. Check in, please. So, how many newbies here today? Anybody? Awesome. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so if you haven't, please download the 1,000,000 Cups app. You can get it there on Google Play or the App Store. This helps us track numbers and also report back to the Kauffman Foundation in Kansas City about our numbers and attendance here. We also want to thank our sponsors. We don't have a lot of expenses, but these folks help us keep the lights on here and keep our entrepreneurial ecosystem healthy and thriving. So if you see folks from any of these businesses, shake their hand or give them an elbow and tell them thank you. What is 1,000,000 Cups? So 1,000,000 Cups is a free weekly program, 9 a.m. here at Dakota Stage every single week, where we offer local businesses or organizations the opportunity to pitch their idea or tell us about their mission and engage in the community for advice and feedback. What's the big takeaway here? Okay, so we ask if we can change the face of our startup community by connecting local entrepreneurs over 1,000,000 cups of coffee, and we are well on our way. Questions. So at the end, if you're unfamiliar with our program, we'll have 2 10-ish minute presentations, and then we'll have a Q&A portion at the end. You're welcome to use this giant orange mug here to ask your questions, or if you don't want to handle the mug, you're not in person, maybe you're joining us online, feel free to use hashtag 1MCND on Twitter, or drop your question in the chat on Facebook. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, sorry, I've never done that, so I don't really know how to coach you there. Just my bad. Okay, so the first Wednesday of every month, we've implemented a live job board. Thanks, Peter. So if you or your organization have jobs that you would like to discuss, feel free to send us that information on a slide. We can add it here to the job board for you, and you can talk about it to get those spots filled with quality candidates. Community announcements. That's me. Great. Okay. So again, always lots of things happening at the North Dakota Women's Business Center. So I just want to point out these happening in, looks like March through June. Our 2 ticketed events, so the Lunch and Learn is free, Business Builders are all free, and then our 2 ticketed events, Core Women and Ladies Night with the Larks, are both, tickets are live for those, each actually $25, so you can grab those on Eventbrite or talk to me if you want more information. So fast. Today, actually this week, is National Infertility Week, and this morning we've got a couple of presenters. Tara Brandner is going to share first with us about her organization called Everlasting Hope, and then we'll hear from Deb Martinek about Chart Your Cycle. Just want to remind you that this topic affects all of us in some way, shape, or form. It is sensitive, but this is a safe space. Also wanted to just remind you that there are some religious and political aspects to each of these presentations, but that's not why we're here. So we're going to listen with open ears and open minds and open hearts and ask solid questions from an entrepreneurial standpoint. So without further ado, Tara, welcome to the stage.
Good morning, and thanks for having me. So I am Tara Brandner. I am the founder and president of Everlasting Hope. In addition, I did just start a new entrepreneurial business. I am a fertility coach as well, and I serve that nationwide. It also is going to be accepting insurance soon in North Dakota, South Dakota, and Minnesota. So I'm just getting started with that. So I'm just going to dive right in. My connection with infertility was unexpected. I had no clue this was coming my direction in life. I got married, I got my master's and doctorate degree, and thought, okay, we'll start a family now. That's what we do, right? And it took a complete different turn. I found myself experiencing miscarriage, failed infertility cycles, and eventually leading to IVF due to, had unexplained right away as a diagnosis, finding out I had endometriosis. And so as a nurse practitioner, you find yourself in a rabbit hole and in things and Googling and searching in ways you never expected. I was alone. I did not share about any of this until after I had failed 3 medical treatments and was almost forced to share because of where I was working. So I'm a nurse practitioner in a rural community. I do call, and I had to eventually open up because I had all of these appointments that were not timed appropriately to my work schedule, and I had to share that way. So when I did share, I found out my secretary was also going through this at the same time as me and going through miscarriages, and we had not been open. So it's a very lonely place to be. That is my son, who's now 3, and I look at him every day, and he is what pushes me to do what I do. And so before Everlasting Hope even became an existence, I had some health policy background. And what that means is, as a nurse practitioner, I was very involved with nurse practitioner organizations at a state and national level. And I had received a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. for a month and have a health policy fellowship for nurse practitioners. And the timing of that, if you believe in signs or any of those things, the day I had my miscarriage, I received the letter that I was going to be accepted and I had this opportunity, and I was completing it, which would have been the due date of that baby. So insert, I have my son, I'm at home on maternity leave, and I was like, what did we just go through emotionally, physically? We had no insurance coverage. So, yep, you heard that right. There is 0 insurance coverage for infertility. If you do, and you are lucky to have some of that on your insurance plan, it is maxed out at $20,000 lifetime. It has been $20,000 lifetime since the beginning of time when insurance companies decided to add that. So I sat in my chair holding my son going, what can I do to change this? So as a constituent of District 28 in my small town, I reached out to a national company and started asking, Resolve is a national organization who hosts National Infertility Awareness Week this week. What can I do? Like, what can I do as someone living in North Dakota to create change? So as a constituent, I brought forward a bill to mandate insurance coverage and fertility preservation. So those who have cancer, to preserve their fertility prior to going through their cancer. Cancer is 90% of it. There is a few other treatments and medications that cause or have that need attached to it. And in 2019, I brought this forward. It failed, but I don't even like saying that because of that bill, Everlasting Hope came to be. I had this Facebook group and this following of people right here in North Dakota, and I was like, okay, well, there has to be like an organization, right, that supports infertility. Like, I know I didn't find them or know of them when I was going through it, but let's do it now. Let's do a walk. Let's have awareness. There was none. There's not a single organization in North Dakota that supported these individuals. And so we had a walk to just raise awareness and funds for the national organization Resolve and saw a need. And that is where Everlasting Hope came from. So I say I turned my hurt into hope for others. So we are the first and only infertility nonprofit in North Dakota, and as of July, South Dakota. And we create awareness on infertility as a disease. We also provide support for couples and families going through infertility with resources, support groups, education, and financial assistance. So we give out grants to help offset medical expenses for those going through infertility. We know that 1 in 6, so think of how many people that is 1 in 6 experience this diagnosis. That includes miscarriage, recurrent pregnancy loss. It is more than 33,000 in North Dakota alone. And we want to just we cannot express enough that this is a disease, and it's one of the only, if not the only, that I can find as a provider that is not covered by insurance. So what infertility is considered is 1 year of trying before the age of 35 or 6 months after 35. And I like to say right there, if it doesn't feel right, sit right, or you feel you have it, go and seek help right away. Do not wait. It affects men and women equally, okay? 1/3 male, 1/3 female, 1/3 both are unexplained. So it is not just a woman's disease. What we do is we provide resources. Like I said, we have online in-person support groups the third Monday of the month. There's actually one that meets here in Bismarck in person. We stream that then online for others across the state and really anywhere. We have cute apparel, like the one I'm wearing today. We do legislative actions, we raise funds, we raise awareness, and we feature patients and give them a safe space and walk them through sharing their story. Why? Because we know that 61% of women going through infertility do not even tell their friends and family. So it's a very isolating thing to go through. It's the fourth leading cause of trauma in women. It is comparable and stressful as going through cancer treatments. We know that 67% of individuals will report spending, and that number is wrong. It is probably closer to 20,000. We just redid the statistic this year. And we know the mental health impact of infertility is staggering. 29% will experience PTSD, 24% will have moderate to severe anxiety and depression, and we know these numbers are very closely related for the male as well. So top issues that we are experiencing in our community is just being aware, and that cost is the number one barrier to care. So really focusing on removing these barriers to care, and we'll get to this in a little bit, but how you can do that even if you don't have infertility, or if you're a business owner or you work at a company and you just feel empowered to make that change within your company, you can do that as well. We know that this is kind of an interesting thing we found out this year when reworking our numbers, but 37% of North Dakota residents are of reproductive age, and 17% of them will actually face infertility and require treatments. We also know that the average North Dakota earnings is $41,000, and the average cost of a cycle is $12,000. So it's a really big financial impact on these families, and that, like I said, that $12,000 is not even close to what most patient stories we have. They're literally spending $90,000 to $200,000 on treatment out of pocket. It's staggering. We know that there's cost savings, so one thing we like to point out, we did do some legislative again this year. We got much more momentum and support this year in legislation. We almost had it, and it failed again. But once again, we don't stop there, we keep going. 19 states have fertility laws for insurance coverage for fertility, and then 10, and I need to change that, we found out 10 states actually have it for fertility preservation, so for cancer patients. We did have a bill, like I said, in 2019 and in 2021. There is federal bills going forward as well, and then Everlasting Hope's going to be forming a focus group to involve patients and businesses and insurance companies, because we do work with insurance companies monthly behind the scenes to make these changes, and when they don't get done that way, Tara goes to legislation with it. So we really do want to work to make this change outside of legislation, but know that it can be done elsewhere. So something I like to point out here is there was a survey done with employees, and when they had coverage, they felt that their employer met their needs of today's families compared to those without. They recommended their company as a place to work at. They believed they felt heard and that they were cared about. So just some interesting things to consider if your business or place of work does not have coverage. Another thing I want to touch on is if you are a friend or family member of those going through infertility, it can be hard to know what to say, how to approach them, right? So just some things that we want to always be careful of is referring to infertility as elective, because that's what insurance does. It's not. We did not choose this. It is, in fact, a disease. Using terms such as, why don't you adopt? You can have my kids anytime. Oh, don't worry, it'll happen. Just relax. Insert anything. Have you tried this? You will get pregnant when the time is right, and there's so many kids in foster care. We are well aware of these things, okay? These things do not treat the disease, and they are wonderful options for anybody, no matter if you're going through infertility or not. So just to be somewhat cautious when approaching somebody if they do open up to you, because we know if they have opened up to you, they have let you into a very intimate part of their life. So embrace that, accept that, and try not to make suggestions. To end, I want to share some stories of individuals right here in North Dakota that we've met and experienced and encountered with in our organization. So you may not think that infertility is viewed in this way. So there is genetic reasons why people need to endure infertility treatments, and this is one of them. This poor mom lost her daughter at 8 months old. Come to find out, they are carriers for a genetic disease, and the only way they can avoid this happening again is to go through IVF. Fertility preservation. Janet Nitschke, she was actually a military personnel as well, with no coverage, breast cancer, no money and no funds to preserve her fertility before cancer. And so she had to decide within 2 weeks, am I gonna save money for my cancer treatment, or am I gonna try to preserve my fertility and have a family in the future? The mental health impact. You know, a lot of it is emotionally, financially draining, and it tears marriages down. So to remember, there's always the mental health impact and the cost that goes along with that as well on the back end. Another military family, I always just say we fight for them, or they fight for us, we need to fight for them. And that's right here in North Dakota as well, as representing military families. And then, of course, this is a nurse. So this is an individual who works in a NICU. And Cassie has been open about her journey. She had to step away from her job for 6 weeks because of the mental health that she was going through and the impact that infertility had on her while working in a NICU. And so to just remember, it truly impacts every area of your life. The best way I can explain it is every month that you have a negative pregnancy test, or that you go through a treatment that fails, you go through the 5 stages of grief. And it is just something that is really hard to explain. So I'm honored to be here speaking up on behalf of those that have it today. And you can find Everlasting Hope on all social media outlets. My fertility coaching business has a podcast called Hopeful Hints, and there's a really good episode out this week that actually is called Dear Friends and Family, I Have Infertility, and it walks you through how you can support those going through infertility. So I look forward to answering any questions later on, and thank you for letting me be here today.
Thank you so much, Tara. Deb?
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Deb Martinek, and I am a fertility awareness educator. And I'm here to speak with you this morning about a program called Chart Your Cycle that I'm involved with. Chart Your Cycle is a coaching and implementation program that takes women from being confused and overwhelmed by their periods to confidently charting their cycles. To give you a bit of the history of this, Chart Your Cycle is about to celebrate its 2nd birthday. It was founded by my colleague Melissa Buchan in 2019. She is a fellow fertility awareness instructor, similar to me, and having 13 years of experience in a particular approach to fertility awareness, she wanted to branch out and make her approach more accessible to couples across the country. She's based in Houston, Texas. I'm obviously in Bismarck, North Dakota. We have a fellow coach in Indianapolis, Indiana. So she developed an online coaching program to meet couples where they are at, individuals and couples, to be able to show them how to chart their cycle to address achieving pregnancy, avoiding pregnancy, infertility issues, or very simply, women's health. She also is a co-developer alongside a restorative reproductive medical professional, or RRM provider. They co-developed the ChartNeo app, which is seamlessly integrated with her online coaching program. In the modules of the Chart Your Cycle program, the clients will meet Melissa, who guides them through the process of what it means to chart their cycle. And then we also offer one-on-one individualized coaching for any clients that need that service. So myself, Melissa, and Hava all serve that need for our clients. If you'll humor me for just a bit, I would like to take you back to high school biology to give you an overview of what it actually means to chart your cycle and what that looks like. So it's all about hormones. There are 4 hormones at play on any given day in the woman's cycle. The 2 primary hormones that I want to focus on are estrogen and progesterone. So at the beginning of the menstrual cycle, a few eggs are selected from the ovary to mature towards ovulation. They develop in a cyst-like structure called a follicle, and when that follicle ruptures, the cyst will release the egg in a process called ovulation. This is a pre-ovulatory phase. The predominant hormone is estrogen. That's what's communicating to the body to allow this process to happen. After ovulation occurs, we have the post-ovulatory phase, where the cyst-like structure that had helped the egg to mature in the follicle now turns into a corpus luteum. The hormone predominant of which is progesterone, which helps the cells of the uterus to either prepare for a pregnancy or to continue the cycle again in sloughing the lining of the uterine tissue in the process called menses. Now, what this looks like in a charting example is the overlay of what our app and our program offers for couples to chart. We have over here the beginning of the menstrual cycle, and this follows along with the hormonal shifts and fluctuations that the woman will experience in her cycle. The estrogen, when this is increasing in the woman's body, that hormone is communicating to crypts in the cervix, an organ of the woman, to produce a bodily fluid that we call mucus. This mucus is then observed when going to the bathroom. It's discharged through the vagina, and a woman can make an observation. And then when ovulation has happened, after that peak of estrogen and ovulation occurs and the egg is released, progesterone then turns into the predominant hormone, stops that production of mucus from the cervix, and provides the nutrient-rich environment in the uterine wall for pregnancy or menses to happen again. And so this cycle just repeats itself over and over and over again, especially if pregnancy does not occur. Friends, this is one of Mother Nature's best kept secrets. And a woman can have a deeper insight into what is going on into her body, and the people around her, especially her significant other, fiance, husband, can have a better idea of what's going on as well. He'll even begin to see a pattern emerge based on what is presented in the information in her chart. He'll know when he can come home with a bottle of wine and some chocolate, or maybe a bottle of Motrin, but also the chocolate. Don't forget that. It provides and promotes a lot of communication between the two parties in the relationship. Now, I was very drawn to Melissa's approach. It's very personable, but I saw that we could use this approach to meet a greater need for a very specific group of people in this country, Catholic engaged couples. I am heavily involved with pre-marriage ministry in our local Bismarck diocese. My husband and I help lead a team that leads pre-marriage weekends throughout the year for engaged couples preparing for marriage in the Catholic Church in our diocese. I've also, with my own charting instructing experience over the last 7+ years, have taught countless couples how to effectively and confidently navigate their cycle and to be able to interpret that data effectively and confidently to either achieve or avoid pregnancy based on what their intentions are. And Melissa's program is a really great foundation to be able to kind of hitch my additional approach onto what is already provided. And so that leads me to Chart Your Cycle Engaged, an additional component of what is offered in Melissa's program. What Chart Your Cycle Engaged offers is premarital coaching and fertility awareness to engaged couples so that they can have evidence-based skills and strategies for building a successful and fulfilling marriage. Let me back up just a bit to identify for you what is already included in the Chart Your Cycle program. So what's offered is a Chart Your Cycles foundation course where the couples are brought through basics of female anatomy and physiology, the charting habit, and the 5 micro changes that a woman can incorporate into her lifestyle to make this happen effectively in her daily life. It also provides a 1-year subscription to the ChartNeo app. It's one-on-one chart evaluation coaching sessions and a secure messaging center for confidential charting support that is HIPAA compliant. Within the Chart Your Cycles Foundation course, there are the 3 self-paced modules. The 4th module is what I'm developing. It's in progress. I like to call it Theology of the Body 101. This is in reference to a series of reflections that Pope John Paul II gave on human love and sexuality back in the 1980s, so that we can have a deeper understanding of what that means. And then there's additionally supplemental lessons and a course workbook for the couples to go through and integrating their internalization of what is presented to them. While we have not yet released this module for the pre-marriage couples, we get testimonials like this from our clients. If you're looking for a safe, drug-free way to track your fertility and improve your marriage, then this is it. We help foster a lot of those components in a marital relationship with communication, understanding your fertility, and being able to integrate those two together. We have 3 subscription options at this current level. Our CYC Connect experience is about creating intentional connection and doing the things that will help you foster a lifestyle of incorporating charting into your everyday life. This is a $32 per month and a $175 enrollment fee. Our next level, which is probably our most popular, is CYC Confidence. In addition to what CYC Connect offers, it also includes individualized, personalized, one-on-one monthly coaching calls with our couples. And then lastly, we have our CYC Integrative Health Coaching. So Melissa is a certified integrative health coach specialist, and so this is an opportunity for her to meet all the other options available through the previous subscription models, but to be able to meet bi-weekly with our clients for integrative health coaching. Now, with the theology of the body module that I would like to present, there is a governing body, a quasi-governing body called the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, or USCCB for short, in this country. And they have particular requirements or standards that they would like all 176 dioceses in the United States to be able to abide by when it comes to incorporating fertility awareness into their marriage preparation. But to date, only 17 out of the 176 dioceses actually offer and meet the standard for incorporating theology of the body into marital preparation. My hope is that with this module, once we're approved, we're going to be able to bridge that gap and provide compliance for the remaining 159 dioceses in this country. Our goal is to submit the module to the USCCB by July 1st, 2021, and we anticipate the approval process to take between 2 and 3 months. My goal, my 5-year plan for this is that we will become the premier pre-marriage fertility awareness program used across all English-speaking dioceses in this country, and perhaps beyond. I don't want to think global yet. I'll just start with this country. Some obstacles that we face with this is the question, do we do this as a standalone product? Do we offer it uniquely alongside our subscription models? This is a struggle that we've encountered over the last couple of years, finding the best payment model for what we're offering in general, so we're always open to suggestions for that. Resistance to a new program. It's very easy to just do what you've always done because it's what you know. But what we're offering is something that's a very new and fresh take on this integration between fertility awareness and marital intimacy with the theology of the body component. None of the other methods that are already approved by the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops standards offer that additional component. So we are a unique bridge between the two, a marriage, pun intended, of bringing those two together. And so we offer something that's really unique, and I'm excited about bringing it in. However, there's going to be resistance just because, well, this is working, why can't we just do this? But not all dioceses and their ministries are created equal, and so I want to be able to bolster what is lacking in those dioceses that don't have things up to the elevated standard. Scalability and staffing solutions, we want this program to grow. Right now, there's just the 3 of us coaches on staff. Melissa, another goal of hers is that she will have created a turnkey, sustainable, at-home from work option for women who want to become charting instructors like myself to be able to provide and contribute in that way. We're not quite there yet, but that's something that's also a dream and a goal of the program. And then increasing connections and awareness. You either are a woman or you know a woman. Like, women are in your life personally and professionally in every scope of the word. You can connect other people with programs like this and just to increase their own awareness of fertility awareness and how you can incorporate this into your daily lifestyle, no matter if you're going through the marriage prep process, if you're single, if you're cycling. It's not as helpful if you've reached menopause. But it's an option available to every woman, and the enlightenment, the awareness that this can provide for her internal introspection and awareness of what her body is doing on any given day can literally change her life. And the men who are aware of this and can support the women in their life can then therefore transform the world when we have this collaborative understanding of how women operate. Please join me in that mission. Thank you.
Thanks, ladies. I'm going to get rid of all of the goodies in my hands here and move the chair off the stage. Challenging set design this time. We're going to have to talk to Dakota Stage about this. So when I was asked to be MC for this topic, I laughed, not because it's a funny thing, but it reminded me of my 5th grade repro course where I couldn't make it through reading a paragraph aloud because I had to say asexual, and just laughed and laughed. Anyway, I think I've come a long ways, and we can have a candid discussion now. So something else that was brought to my attention during both of your presentations was that as an animal scientist, I know more about bovine reproduction than my own, and that's a problem. So my question for both of you is this something that is being taught in school? Because I know there's health classes, right? But if we're still struggling to have the conversation, is there a plan in place to start younger and to equip students with some of this knowledge?
There's not that I know of, nor is there probably a well-structured program in medical schools or nurse practitioners or PAs or really any of that. It's touched on, it's a segment, done. So really working at, and there's in fact an organization I work for that is really trying to make it a curriculum and putting infertility as a curriculum in medical programs.
And I know of several other professionals in this space who have created more of a high school or a junior high approach to be able to offer education for mothers and daughters, both, so that they can have that, but there's nothing that has been standardized really across the board as an introduction into basic biology.
Go ahead, Evan.
We got Mike? Yeah, there we go. Actually, no, not an expert, but something, Tara, that really kind of piqued my interest in your story is maybe a little bit more of an entrepreneurial piece, and that is that you saw something in society that, based on your experience, you didn't feel was right or just, or it needed some work, some help needed to get infused here. So you didn't take to your Facebook page and complain about it. You actually, I mean, you've been working your butt off. You've been doing a lot of stuff. You're creating organizations, and you're having, these walks, and so I think I wish there were more people like you. And so for people in the audience who might have something like that they feel needs work,
Yep.
What advice would you give them as far as taking that first step, and what could you share about that journey and maybe some of the fulfillment that comes with that?
Well, thank you for that, for starters. Don't be scared to do it. Don't wait till the perfect time, the perfect situation, or everything is aligned. Just dive in and start. Find one person that maybe knows how to fill out a 1023 or whatever the heck that form is for 501c3s, and have them help you. Build and tap into your friends and family that maybe have just a little bit of knowledge in something, and work from that, and surround yourself with people that will empower you and support you, and not have anything to do with negative. You block all of the negative out, but really it's just do it. Literally just do it. Google how to start a nonprofit, find a podcast, how to start a nonprofit or how to start a business. And really, when I drive, I'm probably always listening to podcasts on how to do something entrepreneurial or nonprofit, and to surround yourself with growth stuff in any way you can, newsletters, groups on Facebook, anything. But most importantly, don't hesitate, because there's somebody who needs what you do. There's always going to be, no matter what it is, supporting dogs and puppies or supporting those with infertility or whatever, there's somebody, and even if it's 5 people, they need you, so do it for those 5 people.
Thank you. Deb, this one's for you. So maybe just clarify, if you will. I take notes, and so sometimes I get lost. So there's a chart your cycle and a chart your cycle engaged, right? And they're two separate.
Right. The Chart Your Cycle Engaged is how we have it designed at this point, is to just be an additional module within the Chart Your Cycle program.
Okay, very good. And then, so your specific app or program is designed for targeting Catholic engaged couples. Would you also be open to non-Catholic engaged couples, or could you suggest a different option for them?
I would suggest going through, because we talk about very Catholic things in the lens of Catholicism through the Chart Your Cycle Engaged portion of it. It would still be beneficial, I think, for any couple going through, so long as they're aware of that kind of disclaimer. But even aside from that, just simply the Chart Your Cycle program would be incredibly beneficial for any engaged couple to go through, regardless of their religious background. We have women and couples from all walks of life in our program right now, and we specifically wanted to not cater to a religious audience with Chart Your Cycle. We wanted to be as engaging to a secular audience as we could be, because again, it's one of Mother Nature's best kept secrets. And if you're a woman, you have a uterus and ovaries, like this is what happens to you on a monthly or a cyclic basis. And so it's not unique. Just a conversation Tara and I had many years ago. She said, I thought you had to be Catholic to do this. And I said, no, you just have to be a woman. So it's definitely available and accessible to any couple in any walk of life. But the engaged portion, as I'm designing it to be, is going to be specifically Catholic.
Cody, before we get to your question, I just wanted to say really quick, we recognize today that we're talking heteronormatively, and there are other methods for different couples to achieve pregnancy or to have children come into their lives. We recognize that too, but today we're just strictly speaking from a heteronormative lens. So take it away.
Okay, so as you guys have been talking, and that this is almost taboo to talk about and when people feel alone, I'm curious from like the business side, if it was hard, like during COVID, if you guys applied for certain loans and like during the paperwork, I don't know if there's certain aspects where maybe when you were trying to get your nonprofit status or just trying to get an LLC.
Yep. Yeah.
If there was obstacles where maybe the people who would be the state or whoever may be granting you that if they didn't understand what you're talking about, I guess, or like if it's so taboo and kind of if you're having trouble getting things passed in legislature, like how was that? Did you have to apply for any loans? Did COVID affect your guys' businesses? What was the troubles that maybe you had to get the banks and the state to approve your businesses?
I did not. I just think it's extremely long how long the federal government makes you wait to get approved as a 501c3. It was probably 6 months. I had the paperwork done in like 1 month, but waited 6+ months to get approved. And from the, I have an LLC and a PLLC, and it was quick. They just wanted to, you just have to get your license stuff in and get that approved. I found no delays in that. I won't even go down the road of what happened in legislation and what I encountered there with the thought process and just a lack of knowledge and education and perceive things that happened there. But I didn't have any delays with paperwork or anything with COVID. There was delays in treatments. A lot of it, they closed clinics down during COVID. So a lot of people had bought $5,000 worth of medications that expire and had to have them sit in their fridge and waste or that kind of thing. So COVID did delay treatment for those going through treatment.
And with Chart Your Cycle, this has been very much a grassroots build up. Like Melissa founded this individually from her own in contribution and investment 2 years ago, and we've steadily been able to grow towards sustainability with our recurrent client subscriptions. And COVID didn't have much of an effect. I'm not even sure if there would be options for us, like available for us to apply for, because I'm just not really sure, because that's not something that a road that we've gone down. But because of COVID, though, like we did see an increase in interest in women, especially those who were scheduled for infertility treatments and medications, because everything was shut down. And so this offered them a way to continue to work towards their goal of healing that infertility and expanding their family in a way that was just through a computer screen instead of needing to go to a clinic.
Thank you. Janya.
So for both of you, awareness is absolutely huge, and also given the topic. But even without that topic, it's just really hard to get the word out. So I would love to hear both of you, your strategies for kind of building and creating that awareness.
Oh gosh, that is like that's why I said like I save lives for a job. I don't. This whole social media, like that's a degree. Like that. Oh, like I finally have a volunteer who helps with social media, but I actually found a nonprofit specific person who teaches really how to like grow your nonprofit, but specifically as well for social media. Podcasts, once again, I was listening to podcasts, and it's like the ever-changing analytics of every single social media platform and how to cheat them and like get up there. But it was really just reaching out. Like once I had media was really hard for me too, to find like a news anchor or two that their turnover rates are quite high too. But it was like once I did one interview, I had that person and you anchor them, and if one just told me they're leaving, I'm like, okay, who's taking your spot? Who's replacing you? And like, who can I reach out to at your company? And just really making connections. And so same with social media. It's making connections, encouraging people to share your content, and just not being persistent, like not stopping. I had a business coach tell me that I have to be careful though, because what I'm expecting like to kiss on a first date with sometimes with how I approach people, but I'm like, that's passion. Like that is what happens when you're passionate. Like, get me on your show, let me talk about it. Like, so I've had to like step back and learn how to like form connections and that kind of thing too. Well, it's not how I am in real life, but it's how I am when it comes to infertility. I'm so passionate that it just comes out so strongly sometimes.
And I agree completely with the networking. Melissa, Hava, and I are all part of a kind of a grander mastermind group with focus on spreading fertility awareness throughout the country. Like our mentor, it is her goal to like transform women's health in her lifetime. And so making those connections, and she's got a wonderful platform. She's led several online summits over the last couple of years that we've been able to kind of just tag along with and make our program known through those avenues. And then Melissa has also developed an extensive network of restorative reproductive medical providers throughout the country that, you know, and that percentage of physicians is very, very small that have this more specific approach. And so they're aware of the work that she does. And so if they have a patient that comes in and they're like, this is something that we think could benefit you, then they'll put us in touch. And so it's just networking. And Melissa does a lot of podcasts and interviews and things like that too. Social media is not something that I'm good at, nor do I really want to get into that. But I'm happy to network in other ways. You know, we're trying to just improve our own I'm sorry, I can't think of the word. It's there somewhere. Just within our own program, so that when we advertise that and put that out there for others, they can see that we are, there's that word, it's just gone again. But networking has been huge, you know, and there's a grand number, and you're an instructor now too, you know, with the Marquette method,
Yep.
if I'm not mistaken. But being able to connect with those other fellow instructors is a great way to network and make the word more available.
Thank you. Kelsey.
Good morning. Thanks for presenting, ladies. I have a question on Chart Your Cycle. Is with that, obviously, infertility is a huge problem. With Chart Your Cycle, is there ways that people can see that maybe there is an issue that can point them to talking to their doctor in there, or maybe pointing them to local nonprofits such as Everlasting Hope to chat with, and things like that built into your app, so that people can see, oh, maybe there is something that's different, that's not okay or not quite right? Because is there like tells there to help
Absolutely,
women?
yeah.
And
Like your
families?
chart is your biggest proof of what's going on the inside through your external observations. So very simply, you know, an instructor like myself or Tara or a reproductive medical provider would be able to take a look at the chart and say, okay, based on X, Y, and Z, I think that there might be a progesterone issue, a luteal phase deficiency, there might be an endocrine disorder, you might have thyroid dysfunction. So just based on what is charted in the app, you can provide that information to your physician. And if they are trained and aware of our approach, then they can treat some of those root causes in a more productive way than, oh, well, you're just not getting pregnant, because there's so much stigma that goes along with that. But our body is our greatest tool and provides the most accurate information. The woman's cycle has actually been termed the 5th vital sign, right along there with temperature, pulse,
Heart rate.
You're the
I know. I
medical
don't
professional.
know.
Anyway, it's the fifth one.
Your cycle. It's the most important one right now.
Because it provides deeper insight into the inner workings of what's going on. And your cycle is uniquely you. So like you might not have a textbook cycle of a woman of normal fertility with normal hormonal fluctuations that doesn't have an issue with thyroid or progesterone or what have you. Your cycle is uniquely you. So once you get to know what your cycle looks like and you can provide that with your physician, he or she can take a look and ask you deeper questions because you have that insight and then can find a solutions-based approach to whatever is ailing you.
Good question. Mike?
Well, I could touch on a lot of areas of this because for my family, it was a long walk. I grew up Protestant, and my wife's Catholic, and I converted because she wouldn't say yes. But we did go through the charting and the natural family planning and all of that stuff. But theology of the body can apply to Protestants or people that are non-religious also. That process does provide some enlightenments that could be helpful for anybody because it's based on perception and can help a lot of folks. I also spent 11 years in the insurance business. I also work in the medical side. We did go through a long process, and we ended up adopting embryos. And we have a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old through that process. And that family schematic, it's not popular for us guys to talk about. And we go through some things a little differently, but it's important because being a dad is the greatest gift in the world. Just like for a mom, being a mom is the greatest gift in the world, or it should be. And but being in the insurance business and things, as those things evolve, I struggle with classifying it under a term because as more coverages or more blanket goes out there, then those rates go up and you end up paying for it. I understand the $20,000 cap. I also understand that federal laws apply to different insurances, whether it's self-insured or Medicare allowable. There's 7 different types of insurance that play into it. So if you reclassify it and it goes under a blanket portion, and then as we get more and more towards socialized medicine, that's going to drive those costs up even more exponentially. So it is a discussion to have, but I don't know, I would struggle with that. What would your response be to such things? I mean, I could go anywhere and it could go on forever, so I'll stop.
Well, I just want to thank you, first of all, for sharing your story. And I mean, it's amazing hearing a male speak out on that. So I'm super excited about this topic, actually, because there was a report that came out yesterday, and we've known this from the 19 other states that have added it. There's cost savings. And you're like, why, how? How is there cost savings? So to sum it up, when you do not have insurance, you do riskier health care treatments, meaning higher doses of medications. You're putting in more than one embryo. You're having twins, triplets, etc. There is a high cost burden to the insurance on that end of it. And I think I had that on there in one sentence. I kind of whipped through it pretty fast. But it is proven to have cost savings when you have benefits that actually regulate and control just a little bit better on how much medication, how many rounds, and provide services up front. The other piece to that would be it is less than 1% of an overall price increase. So the other states have shown that per member, per month, you're looking at 80 cents to $1 per member. So it is really not this like huge crazy thing because we know that less than 3% of people will need those really high priced treatments such as IUI even or IVF. So IVF is about 3%, IUI is 7%, will actually need that. So it's really just showing businesses and insurance companies the cost savings part that we've now have identified from other states, and then showing them that there is really low premium increases that could happen. We are doing a study. There's actually going to be a study for North Dakota done on this to really hone in on that. So more to come, but I hope that helps maybe open the door a little bit more to that. Yep, definitely. Definitely agree.
Sounds like an extended conversation.
Right? You can be part of our focus group. Give me your name. You're on our focus group.
And I just want to thank you for your encouragement to offer the additional module to couples outside of the Catholic realm. It's encouraging to hear, because you never know where people might be coming from, but thank you for that.
Question in the back.
Thanks for being here. And back to legislation, could you summarize your bill and some of the hurdles and roadblocks you've seen so we can contact our legislators?
Oh, gosh. So
We have less than 10
I know.
minutes.
I was like, 10 minutes. Where should we begin? Okay, hurdle number one, lack of education and understanding. They just don't understand it, like, at all. I'm going to blow you away, but I'm going to say it. When constituents reached out to their legislators this year, the comments that they were fed back with were extremely sad. Of course, there was just adopt, but we know adoption is $20, $30, $50, $80,000 too, so that's not an answer. We have a lot of religious mix in with that, which we should, when we are legislators, I believe, separate some of that. And then just the cost piece of it to really hone in on that. But it was really inspiring to see the power that constituents have. So the day before it went to the House floor, and this is, I hope I can empower you guys in any way to walk out with, no matter what your issue is, or your passion is, to reach out to your legislators. You voted them in, they work for you. So to reach out, the night before our bill went, we flipped over 8 legislators in 8 hours from no's to yes, because they heard from their district constituents. And so what they did, we prepped those individuals to share their story, but to shine a light, and we gave them the data to hopefully just push them over the edge to show that cost savings, show what infertility really is, and then help navigate their story as well. So just the power that you have as a constituent to your legislator on whatever issue it is that you're seeing in your everyday life or your workplace.
Great question, thank you. We don't have a whole lot of time left, but I wanted to go back. Mike brought up an interesting point, I think from the male perspective. So could both of you offer maybe some insight on your experience working with the men in this equation, and maybe what support there is for them?
So we have a support, which is only a few members in it, but our support groups are for not just the female, but for the couple and or just the male to attend. So that third Monday of the month, we have a Facebook support group strictly for men. And the one thing I want people to walk away always remember is, if you are going into the medical setting and being tested, your male counterpart should be with you on day one. That male needs to be tested on day one, because we know he's half of the equation for starters, and he's 1/3 of the reason why we may have infertility, whether it's both of you or one of you. We need to just be really push your provider to get him tested on day one too. So to also know that there's many other support resources out there that we host that will bring the couple together to make these decisions and choices together, and to really encourage them to keep that communication line open at all times, because it is really hard on marriages. So to just shine a light on that, to know you're not alone if you're listening and you've had just you as a male individually, know that we're here for you too, but as a couple, to keep that marriage strong and together when going through infertility too.
And from our perspective, as we introduce the couple to charting the cycle, obviously the woman is the one that has the observations, but the man is able to join alongside her in having confidence in interpreting that, so that he can give her the support that she needs or the space that she needs. And so oftentimes I find when teaching couples that by the second or third meeting with them, the man is like, she makes so much more sense now, just because he has an understanding. Because like when a man wakes up in the morning, his hormonal makeup stays like this all day long. When a woman wakes up in the morning on any given day, it's fluctuating. It's a roller coaster. But being able to support, have the man's knowledge in that to be able to support his significant other is hugely valuable. And so they are almost more excited, I find, to understand that this is what's going on than the woman, obviously. And then collectively, it's a really great opportunity for conversation and communication between the two.
Okay, so we are out of time, but we always ask the same last question. Evan, will you take it away?
I would. Tara and Deb, thanks so much for being here today. Really appreciate it. We always like to ask this question, and that is, what can we, the Bismarck Mandan 1 Million Cups community, do to support you two and your organizations and your missions?
I would love to continue breaking down the stigma that exists around infertility and the conversations we have with those that have it, but most importantly too, considering in your place of work, looking at adding these benefits and just having open conversations with us or employees within your system to really consider removing that number one barrier to care, which is cost.
And as I mentioned at the end of my presentation, you're either a woman or you know a woman. So encouraging them to increase their awareness of how they could chart their own cycle and have that impact in their own life can be invaluable to not only them as an individual, but on all of their close relationships and eventually the world.
Excellent. Thanks for being here. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
Okay, see you next week. We've got some upcoming events. You can see the Good Talk. Then we'll have Bismarck State College and Bisman Chamber EDC with Lemonade Day. Stay tuned with us. Follow us on Facebook. Chat with us afterwards. If you want to apply to present, go to 1 Million Cups Bismarck Mandan. Fill out the application there, and we'll get you up on stage. All right. Thanks for coming, everybody. Have a great week.